Hey folks, this is Kalani. Patch 10.1.7 introduced a few new ways to gear up, which, coupled with some sneaky crest farming, can get you up to a higher item level than previous patches, even if you don't take part in any group content. It's actually very possible and quite easy to get yourself up to item level 437 without needing to jump into any difficult endgame content. So this is perfect for anyone who wants to gear up before the next big patch, or for anyone who wants to get their ults caught up in preparation for Season 3. I know there are a lot of players coming back to the game in anticipation of patch 10.2, so we're going to go through how to gear up in patch 10.1.7 to get item level 437 or higher all by yourself. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. We're going to go through step by step, starting with a fresh level 70 character, just to make sure that no matter where you are in your gearing process, you can hop in at the right item level bracket for you and get yourself up to item level 437 pretty easily. The best way to start your gearing up adventures is by taking part in the Dream Surge events. If you open up your world map, one of the Dragon Isle zones should have this big green icon in it. That's the current zone with the Dream Surge event. It rotates through the zones each week, so double check the zone before you head out, just to make sure you're going to the right place. Our first goal here is item level 402 gear, which is super simple to collect. One of the weekly quests available for the Dream Surge event rewards you with a box of 402 gear, which is nice, but the most reliable sources of this gear is going to come from one of the vendors. They sell 402 gear tokens for any slot, and they each cost 100 Dream Surge coalescence. This currency mainly comes from doing world quests and killing rare monsters in the Dream Surge event zone. Rares are going to drop between 20 to 25 coalescence when killed, so rares are probably the best and most reliable source of coalescence. Whenever a rare pops up or is announced for the zone, zoom on over to get a tag and you will be swimming in this currency before you know it. The rares also have a chance to straight up drop item level 402 gear tokens, which can save you a lot of coalescence currency in the long run. The drops are random though, so you might get items that aren't too useful to the character you are currently playing. The great thing about this 402 gear is that it's all bind on account, so if you have some leftover coalescence currency or some leftover gear tokens from rare monsters, you can send them to your ults or your next character that you're trying to gear up, making it even easier and faster to gear up multiple characters to get ready for the next big patch. Now before we continue, today's video is sponsored by U.GG. The best site for League of Legends builds now has a section for World of Warcraft, including talent setups, best in slot gear lists and more. No guides, just better data for fast, easy insights. It's a great way to quickly set up your character before heading into Mythic Plus Keystones or your next raid night. The talent trees are super easy to read and all of the info you could want is laid out neatly on screen. You can swap between raiding and Mythic Plus setups, filter by specific dungeons, affixes, difficulties or raid bosses, and copy the talent setup with a single click. There's even a stat priority included for you at the top and lists for the most popular gear setups and overall best in slot gear towards the bottom. U.GG takes out all of the guesswork and the info you see is actual passes and real data, so none of it is Feelycraft. This is what the top players are actually running with. So click the link in the description or head to u.gg/wow and get the best data-driven talent, character builds, BIS gear and more. No guides, just quick and easy insights. Now getting back to the video, 10.1.7 also introduced the heroic mode of the Dawn of the Infinite Mega Dungeon, so you can specifically queue into the two wings using the Dungeon Finder tool. All of the bosses in there drop 402 gear, so if you're missing things like trinkets, that could be a great source of gear as well. It's also a good source of Whelpling Crests, which we're going to need later on. So with most of your gear slots covered in 402 gear, the next step is twofold. You can upgrade your 402 gear to a cap of 424, and then you can also start looking for higher item level gear from various other sources. You might think that upgrading this 402 gear is going to be a waste of resources if you're just going to get higher item level gear, but that's not entirely true. Upgrading your gear gives you a nice boost to your character's power level, making whatever content you're doing much easier and faster, so that's always going to be nice, but getting up to item level 424 is also probably good enough for most ults or strictly solo content focused players. You'll be able to take on whatever the open world throws at you and you shouldn't have any problems in the new patch or zone. So if you want to stop here, that is perfectly fine, but if you want to go a bit further and upgrade some of this gear, you're going to need some Shadow Flame Crests. We'll need Whelpling Crests and Drake Crests for this first upgrading adventure. Whelpling Crests get you to item level 411, I believe, and then you need Drake Crests after that. Whelpling Crests mainly come from world quests, LFR boss kills, looting treasures, and some rares. A super quick way of getting both crests and coalescence currency is to fly around the Dream Surge zone and look for these floating green balls. Flying through them gives you some Whelpling Crests and coalescence currency, so it's two birds with one stone. The queuable heroic version of the Dawn of the Infinite dungeon also rewards you with quite a few Whelpling Crests, as we mentioned earlier, so keep that in mind if you need a few extra crests. Drake Crests are going to be a little harder to get, and they're mainly going to come from weekly content. Things like the Dream Surge weekly quest, Farak Assault, the weekly heroic dungeon quest, weekly events, they all reward Drake Crests or fragments. You can also get them from the Aberrus raid on normal or mythic +6 keys or higher, and some rares in Zaralek Cavern also drop Drake fragments as well. You can also get both Whelpling and Drake Crests from Spinsoa in Zaralek Cavern. The vendor is in Loam and uses a specific currency, unearthed fragrant coins. You can get these coins from the weekly event Researchers Under Fire, which is in the middle of the zone, as well as the little zone events that pop up on the map. You're looking for the small yellow horns. Each event can give you a handful of coins, so if you need a few more crests to finish your upgrades, this could be a good option as well. As an extra note, any upgrades past item level 415 will also reduce the cost of upgrading any 415 gear you get later on for that same slot, so you never double spend your crests, and your Flightstone costs will be reduced as well. So again, upgrading your gear isn't going to waste resources, especially crests. You only pay your crests once per gear slot you upgrade, just food for thought. Now the other option to continue our gearing up adventure, which you're going to have to come to eventually, is getting your hands on some item level 415 gear. This is where the new gear track starts, so we're looking for champion gear. The champion track starts at item level 415, so that's why this item level is so important. You can upgrade champion gear up to item level 437, which is really the highest you can go without jumping into higher end group content like raids or Mythic Plus dungeons. There are a few sources of 415 gear that anyone can get their hands on. The first one is from the same Dream Surge event as earlier. There's a weekly quest here that rewards you with a Dream Surge Chrysalis token. You can only get one of these per week, which means it's a bit of a slow grind, but it is very reliable. Just complete the weekly quest, hand it in for your token, and then you can talk to Hamel Rune Totem and trade that token in for almost any piece of gear you want. Whatever you buy is going to be item level 415. I would recommend you start with weapons, as they tend to be some of the more important pieces of gear, and then this gear can also be used in the Revival Catalyst to get your tier set bonuses, which also provide huge spikes in character power, so I would focus on your helm, shoulders, chest, legs, and glove pieces after your weapons. Another very easy source of item level 415 gear is the Farak Assault. This is another easy to locate event on the map. It has its own dragon head icon. Pop on over there and you should have a Farak's Fury energy bar at the top of your screen. When that fills up, a mini boss will spawn and you can get item level 415 gear from that mini boss once per week, so it's another weekly source of champion gear to go alongside the Dream Surge event. There is one other very easy weekly source of 415 gear, the Heroic Dungeon Weekly Quest. You can pick this up in Valdrakken, and if you complete 5 Heroic Dungeons, you'll get to choose between a piece of 415 gear or a Drake Crest. And then you can also do the world boss down in Zaralek Cavern. The Zakali Elders have a chance to drop item level 421 gear, so that should help you skip a few upgrades if you get lucky with some loot. Now, something else you're going to want to keep an eye out for is the Turbulent Timeways event. This starts up on 26th of September, and while it will provide you with a variety of buffs to leveling and great options there, what I'm mostly interested in for this video is the big upgrade for gear rewards. We'll have 5 to 6 weeks of back-to-back time-walking events, and during this time, the weekly reward quest will give you a random piece of heroic raid gear instead of the usual normal raid gear. Time-walking dungeons are super easy. You only need to run 5 in the week to get the event quest done, and it's a free piece of heroic raid loot, which is item level 428 to 437. So that's going to provide you with some huge upgrades, some of which can be upgraded further, and some which will be fully upgraded already. So keep your eyes peeled for that event. It is going to be a huge gearing up opportunity. Now the main problem you're going to run into with this gearing up path is obtaining Wyrm Crests to facilitate your upgrades, especially if you're a solo content player. This is where our secret weapon comes into play, the Raid Finder. This might surprise you, but Raid Finder provides you with some of the best ways to gear up if you don't want to do dedicated group content. Now I know Raid Finder is technically group content, but you can queue into it all by yourself. It's super easy, requires almost zero effort, and you can clear a wing in 15 minutes or less. It's easy, it's fast, and you don't have to do any actual work when it comes to forming the group. In my mind, anything you can queue into by yourself, so things like time walking dungeons, heroic dungeons, or Raid Finder, all of that content is solo player friendly, and the Raid Finder gives you two huge gearing up opportunities. The first important door that Raid Finder will open up for you is the Weekly Vault. Raid Finder boss kills count towards the Weekly Vault raid reward row, so if you can kill 7 bosses in LFR, which should be about 3 wings worth of bosses, you'll totally fill up your raid row in the vault. LFR doesn't really drop great gear in the grand scheme of things, especially when compared to the 402 gear from Dream Surges or the 415 gear from other sources. There are some items in there that you can get that are higher than 415, like class trinkets and special gear like the cloak from Sarkareth, so if you get lucky you can get some really good pieces of gear, but that's not what we're focusing on. If you have 3 options in your Great Vault on reset day, you also then have the option to take 6 tokens of merit at the bottom. That's what we're interested in. You can trade these tokens in for Wyrm Crests at the vendor right next to the Great Vault. 1 Wyrm Crest is 2 tokens, so if you get 6 tokens per week, that means you can get 3 Wyrm Crests per week. This is one of the only ways to get Wyrm Crests without doing higher tiers of group content, and you can get 3 per week just by killing some LFR bosses. That's pretty huge. It's also worth noting that when you no longer need the 415 gear from the weekly Dream Surge quest, you can also use those tokens to buy Wyrm Crests from the vendor. So it's going to be up to you what's more important, buying another piece of 415 gear or securing 1 more upgrade for your best gear slot, but that's 1 more Wyrm Crest you can get your hands on per week. Now the other major advantage you're going to get from running LFR is you're going to get a lot of splintered sparks of Shadow Flame, especially if you're gearing up a new character who hasn't gotten any sparks yet. Splintered sparks combine into sparks of Shadow Flame, which let you get high item level crafted gear. If you don't have professions, that's fine, you don't actually need the profession yourself. When you have a spark of Shadow Flame, you can go to the crafting area in Valdrakken and talk to the crafting order clerks. Find an item you want made, collect up all the materials, and then you can make a crafting order. Note that if you make a public order, your result will vary depending on who picks up your order, which isn't ideal, but it's still a quick way to get gear. Just by using a spark of Shadow Flame, you can get item level 411 to 424 in any slot you want, depending on the rank that you get it crafted at, which can help you gear up pretty quickly and skip over the upgrade process. If you want to guarantee that 424 gear or rank 5 gear, you will need to find someone in trade chat with the profession you want who can create the item at rank 5. This is usually very easy. I know it's a daunting thing to try and do, but it's usually pretty quick. Just ask in trade chat for the profession you need, link the item that you want crafted, and just ask for someone who can craft it at rank 5. You will probably get a whisper within a few minutes. Go back to the crafting order clerk, change the order type to personal, put in the player's name, request the rank that you want, and send them a nice tip for their time. That's all you need to do. So if you follow these steps up to this point, you'll have a few different ways to get 415 to 424 item level gear, as well as a steady source of Wyrm Crests to upgrade it up to 437. It's going to take you 4 Wyrm Crests per piece of gear to get it all the way to 437, so you can do almost 1 piece per week with the Raid Finder Wyrm Crests alone. Your other option here is to take those Wyrm Crests and craft some enchanted Shadow Flame Wyrm Crests. You can make crafting orders for these just like you did for the crafted gear, and then you can use these enchanted Wyrm Crests to bump up your crafted gear to 437. It only takes 3 Wyrm Crests to make an enchanted crest, so getting crafted gear up to 437 is actually cheaper than upgrading normal gear, so I would definitely focus on crafted gear first if you have enough sparks to go around. But that's the easiest way you can go from 0 gear up to item level 437 all by yourself. It will take a little bit of time if you're depending entirely on this process. The weekly vault rewards are the main source of upgrades after all. If you want to take your gearing adventures up a notch, you're looking at the standard gear treadmill past this point. So you want to hop into some Mythic Plus dungeons, push that up to plus 11 keys to get more access to Wyrm Crests, and then go up to 16 keys to unlock access to Aspect Crests, and then Heroic Raid and Mythic Raid are really the only other places you're going to find upgrades. But I'll be honest, if you can get yourself to 437, it's actually going to be really hard to upgrade past that point without doing some of the hardest content in the game, so keep that in mind. The good news is that your shiny new gear should make jumping into endgame content pretty easy, so if you want to get some end of season achievements like Keystone Master or even ahead of the curve done, all of this gearing up should make that quite a bit easier. But that's how you can gear up to item level 437 as a solo-oriented player, or for your ults who you don't want to put too much effort into. Are you going to gear up in preparation for the new patch, or are you focusing on other things right now? Was there anything that I missed here that you think should be included in the video, or is there something specific that you're stuck on when it comes to gearing up? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you'd like to add your name to the end of every video with a special shout out at the start of the next video, you can find links in the description over to Patreon or click the join button just below this video. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.